Coverage is one of the most important aspects of defense in Madden every single year. And in this video, we're going to be showing you my favorite coverage shells against meta formations that I guarantee you that you're going to be facing online. And so if you stay to the end of the video, we're going to give you pretty much the best coverages in the game, not only to adjust and actually just cage your opponent, but also coverages that are designed to be able to be adaptable to whatever opponent that you play, as well as cross-applicable to other formations that we might not cover in this video. And these coverages are going to be switch stick enabled so that you can use the switch stick feature, which is the most important feature to master on the defensive side of the ball. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to be showing this out of the dime normal in the Kansas City Chiefs playbook. The main reason why I wanted to use dime normal is just because I haven't covered it yet, and also because this is a symmetrical defensive formation, and so we're not going to have to deal with really flipping our formation no matter what they do, right? So what you want to do on the outside is you want to go into your coaching adjust or your depth charts here, and we're going to put our fastest guys at the outside edge, outside or rush left in, rush right in. So what you're going to see here is I'm just looking for speed. That's literally the only rating that I honestly care about. As you see here, pretty much have an 85 speed. I have two 88 speed guys, so that makes the decision really easy, right? I'm just going to put my left end or my Will at that position and my right end Benito there, and I'm pretty much good to go. Now, as far as the defensive tackle goes, the defensive tackle position goes, you want to put your best shedders, players that are going to block shed well. So we'll put this guy here, Cooper and Allen will be what we rock with. Now, pretty much all you need to know in terms of personnel. We're going to first start with everybody's favorite offense, and that is, pretty much any form of gun bunch. Now, I actually have the Jacksonville Jaguars offensive playbook up. This is probably the #1 meta playbook right now because it just has so many meta formations, and so we're going to be kind of using that to teach some of these principles. Now, as far as coaching adjustments goes with this defense, because we are in a symmetrical formation, you really don't have to worry about auto flip being on or off. It's kind of up to you. In my personal preference is going to be to turn it off. The reason why is so that I can kind of control the coverage shell pre-snap, and I can even call it out of the play call screen. We're going to put our defensive motion response on disabled. We're going to put our option rekey on conservative, our pitch key on aggressive, our rekey and pass key are going to both be on conservative, and then we're going to come down here and we're going to put our safeties on close and pinch. Now, that's all you need to do for your coach adjustments. If you want to use your safety, you can put a safety in this position, or you can put a linebacker, up to you, right? But we're going to kind of cover this based out of a Tampa 2. And the main reason why I want to base my coverage shells out of a Tampa 2 is you're going to notice that in a Tampa 2 defense, you'll see that these slot corners are in what's called a hook zone curl. These are different than a vertical hook. And trust me when I tell you, vertical hooks are terrible in this game. You do not want to be using those. You want to be using either hook curls or hook zone curls. Vertical hooks are pretty much bugged at this point. And so unless they fix it, I'm going to really suggest the hook zone curl from a Tampa 2. That is also, in my opinion, the safest shell in terms of the auto motion and the pre-snap bugs. I think Tampa 2 is the best. So we could even set our shell within this defense to a cover 2 if we wanted to do that. But anyways, what I wanted to do is show you again just some of my favorite coverage shells. So let's go ahead and get on the field. Now, as far as the blitzing aspect goes, and this is why I think one of the coolest things about Madden 26 is the stunts. And it actually makes a lot of the formations that we really don't use anymore usable again. Formations like dime normal, dime rush, nickel single mug, nickel normal, nickel 2-4. All these formations now can be used because you have a really good way to get pressure within the stunts. The way you're going to get pressure with stunts is you're going to hold down on the button and you're going to select the Texas 4-man stunt. And this blitz is kind of been talked about a ton. All you're going to do is just spread your D-line and you're going to have a good chance at being able to get some pressure at the opponent. Don't worry too much about the coverage here. Just want you to watch the pressure aspect of this. And you're going to see here that these guys are going to get good pressure. They're going to, the other thing they're going to do is they're going to push the pocket. They're going to make it uncomfortable. This is a very uncomfortable defense to play, okay? Now, that being said, first coverage shell, and really the easiest one that I like to do, is I'm just going to middle third my user defender. That's it. And then what I'm going to do at the snap of the ball is I'm going to run him back and then I'm going to switch stick onto typically the short side vertical hook defender. So for example, let's say they run a route combo, like something like this right here. You're going to see that by running this defender back, he'll play some of the stuff over the middle, and then I can use this hook curl or this hook zone curl here. So we're going to run him back like that, switch stick here, and then I'll just kind of, use the switch stick to be able to kind of handle some of the main things, that we're seeing. So that's my first one, and that's really kind of more of a shell that I like to use in long yardage situations where I'm trying to make sure that I don't give up, any kind of crosser over the middle or anything like that. Another combination that you see from time to time is the smash return type of idea. And so this is going to do a really good job against that because, again, we're going to hook switch here, and then we're able to kind of cover the middle of the field, and then we can switch to that deep half at the top. Now, the way that you switch stick, if you don't know, is you're going to flick the right joystick in the direction of which you want to switch. Now, before we go any farther, I do want to let you know that if you're looking to get better at Madden or college football, join our school community. It's only $10. It gets you access to full offensive and defensive ebooks that are designed to help you win more games. So if you want my full schemes, everything that I know about the game, it is in our school community. You can sign up for that in the description down below. And now we're going to go on to the next coverage shell. So the next coverage shell that we're going to be talking about is roll coverage. This is probably my most used coverage shell. What you're going to do is you're going to roll your coverage from the short side of the field to the wide side of the field. And really the best way to do this is we're just going to shade our hook zone curls underneath. We're going to then soft squat this outside player. And then on the left side, we're going to create a cover three. So we're going to go an outside third, a middle third. I like to put my user in that hook curl. And then you could take the slot corner and you could put him in a curl flat or a hard flat. That is up to you if you want to play a little bit more passive. The curl flat, if you want to play a little bit more aggressive, obviously you can hard flat, right? Now, what this is really good for, and the reason why I really like this coverage shell is for a route combination like this. When they're trying to attack kind of that right side, they're trying to attack that corner area of the field, this is going to do a really, really good job. And if you think about the route combination, all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to switch stick on to this middle third, and you see that we're able to play pretty balanced against, against that look. So it's a very simple coverage shell. I'll actually look at it in replay. But what you'll see here is the soft squat defender is going to carry this corner route typically to the outside for a pretty good while. He'll eventually fall off of him when a flat threat comes into his area of the field. But in general, he does do a good job of covering the corner route, as you can see right there. So if you wanted a little bit more of a, like, he's always going to drop back, then you would want to leave. You could just leave this cloud. Now, the reason why you would leave the cloud as well is, let's say they wanted to run, some people like to run the version where they're going to put this tight end on a flat. And so we'll try to show you I'll just put them on an out route. But basically, they'll kind of high-low on that right side. And this is more of a traditional flood. Now, what's nice about this coverage is you don't really have to do a whole lot in terms of this. Like, you could switch stick here, you switch, yeah, that cloud kind of takes it back, and essentially you just force them to check it down to that left hand or to that underneath flat route if they want to do that. That's where you can just leave the cloud flats and you can kind of adjust the defense like this, and you're going to be in a pretty good spot. Now, this defense is also still really good for defending, a lot of the popular routes that people want to run from left to right or from right to left if they want to flood the left side. So, for example, a very popular setup is kind of like a dagger setup, and basically it would be like this, where we're going to have a return route, a post, and a drag. So what you're able to do within this play is the curl flat will take the drag route, your hook curls will take this underneath defender, and then because there's no vertical route on the left, you can easily just defend this guy, this post with this backside deep half. As you see, I can just switch to him, and we have pretty good coverage integrity across the defense. So again, it's just another way in which we can defend and handle, some of the other things that they want to do. Now, one of the other things that you see a little bit this year that you will see a little bit next year is, or not next year, but the rest of the year, is this idea is this idea that what we're going to do now is we're going to use a slot fade, a streak, and then a backside drag of some sort. So it looks like this. So the purpose of the slot fade is to kind of mess with the cloud flat defender a little bit, and also to kind of pull. What we're really trying to do is, if you are in a cover two, we're trying to kind of pop you with this deep fade, or maybe a double corner. We're trying to out leverage you with the fade. Another way they could do that, and you will see this year a little bit more than you might think, is this is a good short side combo. You'll see that when we run it short side, that slot fade pops cover two a little bit better, right? So what you could do is, if they're going to something like that where they're using a slot fade as their clear out, but they're also using a slot fade as kind of a cover two beater, what you're able to do here is you can play cover three cloud. So the way that I play cover three cloud, more of a traditional cover three cloud, is I'm actually going to roll, and this is where I definitely will soft squat. I don't want the cloud. I would prefer soft squat or hard flat. But what you're going to do is you're going to outside third the safety on that side. You're going to middle third the safety on the backside, and then you're going to play a cover three, right? So what this does is that outside third is not going to get bombed by the slot fade, and then you're able to kind of get that middle third to roll into position to be able to play that deep seam streak within the formation. So overall, the most used coverage I would say against bunch is really this right here. This is definitely kind of my most used bunch coverage shell, pretty much unanimously across the board, just because it does a really good job of defending the corner routes. And then if they do want to run any kind of like smash return type of setup here, then what I'm normally able to do is I'm normally able even to switch stick to like right here, and you see how I can switch stick to the safety, and then outside third is kind of hanging with him for the most part within that defense. So that's another one that I really like. And then that's pretty much it in terms of how I like to defend against bunch when sending four. Again, the other thing that I wanted to emphasize, I forgot to say this in the beginning, but these principles can all be utilized in send four based defenses. So I'm also talking about these coverages also apply to loop blitzes, and whenever you're sending four, basically these coverages will be good for you. Now, let's say that we're playing a bunch tight end. This is another popular formation, especially in college football. This was very popular. And how do you like to defend a bunch tight end? Well, the reason it's actually fairly straightforward to defend bunch tight end, because you don't have as much of a as much of a threat here to the right side as you do to the left side. Most of bunch tight end is really flooding the bunch side. So what I like to do is I'm going to cover three cloud pretty much every single play, like this right here. And then what I'll typically do is I'll actually this is one of the only formations I'll do this, but I will man my user up on the tight end so that if the tight end runs across the field, I can switch on to the middle third. So let's give you like a practical example of what that might be. So for example, like let's say you get a route combination like this. This is all you need to do is you're going to see, oh, he runs across. Okay, I'm going to immediately switch. And then I'm getting that middle third over there to handle things. The other thing you could do is you could switch onto the yellow zone and have the yellow zone be able to kind of run across the field. So that's one shell that I'll do. Occasionally, there's not a lot in bunch tight end that really does a great job of beating a cover three. So this is a safe coverage that I'll run until they show me they can beat it. I really like the soft squat. And until they start to show me that they can beat the soft squat, I'm going to soft squat. But if they can beat the soft squat, then I'll put them in a cloud. But basically, it looks like this, kind of very similar to what we were doing on a bunch. One of the major differences that I will do a little bit more against bunch tight end, unless they're motioning a lot from the bunch side to the solo side, is I will leave this kind of as a cover three coverage. Or what I'll do is I'll flat out I'll just man the tight end up. So if the tight end runs a streak, then okay. But if he doesn't run a streak, then what I'm able to do is I'm able to play, kind of a different style of coverage here on the right side. Tight end corner routes really aren't that crazy good, to be honest. So I don't feel like you necessarily even need to stop squat or cloud over here, but you certainly can. I just really like the cover three like that. Another really underrated adjustment that I will do against bunch tight end is I will cross man this guy right here. To do this, you do have to take your coverage or your safeties off a pinch, but I will crossman him onto the circle receiver. Another way we could basically do the same thing is cross-manning this player and then over here playing a cover two. And then essentially the reason for this is because that player in bunch tight end is one of the big threats. Now, if they're running more of a crosser from this other guy, that's one thing. But the best bunch tight end actually has the crosser coming from this guy right here. So if you're giving a streak, what you're going to get here is I'm just going to switch stick onto really anyone here. I love to switch stick on this left side, kind of get down like that, and just let him do his thing on that player. So that's one of my favorite adjustments for any kind of bunch tight end. Overall, I think bunch tight end is relatively straightforward. You kind of want to cover to the bunch side right out of the gate. The other thing that you can do, within this coverage is, again, you could play your straight cover two. I'm just telling you right now that there's not a lot of things from bunch tight end, with the exception of the crossing route, that is really a major threat that you have to really worry about to the right side. There's just not a lot of routes that they're going to be able to utilize. So that's why like a basic cover three here to the right side, I think makes a lot of sense. And then what you're able to do on the back side of this is if you wanted to man this up to take the crosser, but I mean, you don't even need to do that. And the other thing that I would say is use an outside quarter. Use an outside quarter on this. This is why bunch tight end is not as good in Madden as it is in college football, because because of the hash mark, this crosser that was so good in college, you're going to see that that's not going to be as good. Watch the outside quarter just sit right on that crosser. And of course, we still get aggressive cop because it's Madden 26, but you see that he's he's right in position to be able to play that. So one of the biggest things that I would advocate is outside quartering over here on the right side. Probably still will work if he's an outside third, but then now what we're able to do is we're able to have a lot more balance within this coverage, and we're really able to devote a lot of energy into defending really this combination over here, which I believe is the combo that you need to be prepared to defend from a bunch tight end type of look, is something like this, because they're able to really get this flood. And basically, we just want to make it so that they have to check down the tight end. Again, I think one of the easiest ways to do that is you could just man the tight end up with your user so that when he goes across on the drag, you actually have coverage there. And then, we're able to switch stick from there. So, anywho, that is really the main thing that I'm going to do against bunch tight end. Not really a whole lot else, honestly. The only other thing that I would do against bunch tight end is occasionally, just to kind of change it up a little bit, if you wanted to, is I would play just a straight up cover four against bunch tight end because it's such a compressed formation. So what we would do, you don't have to do this out of Tampa too, but basically you would have you'd have outside quarter, inside quarter, and then I'm always going to take this safety on the tight end side and put him in a middle third. I'm not going to put him in a quarter because he's my main player that I want to switch onto. And then I'm going to have an outside quarter over here. And then on this right side, I'll typically have him in a flat. And then really from there, right, we would have this other guy over here in a flat. And then basically, this is kind of how you play defense. Well, what I would pretty much do almost immediately is I would switch stick onto this crosser from left to right. So, but again, I don't think you really it's the crosser itself is not the killer route. It's really the killer route is truly this like slot fade. So if I have a quarter here, what's nice about this quarter is it'll take the streak. So now guess what I can do with this backside safety? I can use him to bite down, which I hit the wrong button there, but I can use that backside safety to kind of come down on the running back. So that's why I like that against bunch tight end type of formations. Now, I did want to show you one other thing. So I'm going to take my safeties and put them back on default. I really hope that they actually change this. But what you're going to see here is when I want to now cross man, if I take the safety, and now I can man him up on anyone on the left side. So if you want to do some cross manning, I recommend, not having your safeties on pinch. But I don't think you necessarily need to cross man that much in this year's game. Now, another formation that I think is really important to cover is trips tight end, because trips tight end, if there's one formation that's going to mess with your alignment, it's probably going to be trips tight end. So, again, dime normal Tampa 2, we're going to do the Texas 4-man like this, and we're going to play our trips. So as you see here, really the main thing is the safety on the left side. He gets pulled out pretty far, and then your user kind of gets pulled out pretty well as well here. So what do I like to do against trips? So what I like to do against trips, a couple different coverages, but really it's going to essentially boil down to these couple of coverages that I like against trips. The first one is I actually like to play cover 2 on the trip side, but this is a very important thing, um, with one caveat. And the caveat is that you are going to take this backside safety and you're going to put him in a middle third, and then your user is going to man up to this circle receiver. And so the whole idea is, if you get a route combination like this, I know it looks weird, but you will see this. You have to switch off of your user, and then you're going to take this tight end, or you're going to take this middle third on the right and run him into place. So you'll see here, I get this, he runs off, and then I'm able to play, pretty good ball. If I don't do that adjustment right there, if I don't man my user up when I run that coverage, then what's going to happen is this guy will just split these safeties because of the wide alignment. You'll see right here that this little seam just becomes a free, big hitting play. So one of my biggest tips for defending any kind of trips-based formation is really using your user strategically, but also even just a basic man up here. And if you wanted to, you could get on this slot corner and you could play the defense like this, and that's fine. Or you could switch stick onto the slot corner. Either way, the biggest thing here is, in my opinion, making sure that we're playing good defense, specifically against seam streaks. This also is going to do a good job of taking away that throw, because that throw is a problem. So this next coverage shell helps take away that. So what I like to do as well against trips is roll over the tight end side. Instead of putting this guy in a deep half, you want to put him in an inside quarter, because the deep half is just not an effective zone for that tight end route. The cloud is going to do plenty, going to do exactly what you need. So I like to have a quarter there. And then on the outside here, we're going to have a third and a middle third, and then we're going to have a curl flat, and then I like to hook curl. So it looks like this. So the reason and the purpose of this defense is really for defending a lot of this formation. So the number one thing that this defends in this formation is 4 verticals. This 4 verticals is pretty darn good in this year's game. And you're going to see here that this middle third, he's going to do a good job of kind of hanging back with the streak, but then you do have to take care of this number 3. So the way that you take care of this number 3 is really with your user on this play. So let me just reset my adjustments. What I would do if I'm getting 4 verticals, and this is the brilliance of this play, is having the running back on the Texas, because it kind of attacks that kind of attacks like the part of the field that you vacated. So what I would suggest is essentially just switch sticking to the vert hook right there and just taking that, or just giving up the running back route. Like, the running back route's not the end of the world, and you'll be fine. But the other route combo from trips that this does a brilliant job of defending is anything like this right here. So when they have just a basic, cross concept, what I like about this defense is this will defend it really, really well, especially if you put that quarter on that right-hand side. So what you're able to do within this defense is, if you see that crosser, you can actually switch stick to this third and run him all the way across, or you could just take it with your user or the vert hook. Either way, but in general, there's just a lot of ways to be able to combat a trips style of an offense. Again, one of the best ways to me is to utilize a defense like this. But the biggest thing you have to keep in mind is you don't really need the deep half. So inside quarter makes a lot more sense. Or another way you could do it is you could middle third on that side and you can inside quarter on this left side. That'll still guard the tight end streak. But what this quarter is going to do is this quarter is never going to get burned by this quarter will never ever ever get burned by that throw right there. As you see right there, like he's in position. Obviously, if I'm not using two controllers, it's probably a click on pick. But those are some of the other things you need to kind of be aware of when defending a trips based formation. Another one that I like is really just straight up cover two, but instead of a deep half, this guy will be in a quarter. And then on the left side, I'll typically put this guy in. I'll actually just leave him in a deep half. I don't think you need to do anything crazy. And then what I like to do on the right side is soft squat. I think a soft squat on the right side makes a lot of sense. And then basically we're just going to backpedal here and get on the vert hooks and just play balanced defense that way. So that is how I like to defend a trips tight end type of formation. Those are some of my favorite coverage shells against a trips tight end. Now I get a lot of questions every single year about five wide. So I wanted to give you some of my basic principles for defending five wide. So the first thing is we're still going to be in Tampa 2, still going to be in Texas 4 man, and we're still going to be using right here. So I think the easiest way to defend five wide, in my opinion, is you have to realize like who are they trying to play through. Normally they're trying to play through the slot receiver on either side or the tight end. The outside players, they don't really try to play through those players a lot. So what I like to do against five wide is essentially defend it like this. So I'm going to go cover three like that on the left. And then on this right side, and this is what I think is really important, I'm just going to man up that slot receiver and put my user in a hook. So it looks like this. It looks a little wonky, but the reason why I like this coverage is because the only player that I really have to worry about is this tight end. And what most people do is they'll go like a vertical play like this, but they'll have a drag on this left-hand side. So all I have to do here is I'm just going to user, and then I'm just going to switch stick to this third, and we're going to play pretty good defense against one of the more popular offenses in the game. The other thing that you can do that I think is really good, though I really don't talk about it a ton, but this is really, really good specifically against five wide. I don't really call it against really anything else, but I do like it against five wide, and that is just a basic cover three match. Now you can't have zone drop set, but any kind of basic cover three match is going to do a really good job against five wide. I still do the Texas 4 man, but basically what's going to happen here, as you see these seam flats, they are going to do a really good job of matching the slot receivers. And then essentially you have a ton of support for your tight end. As you see, that hook curl did a good job matching that crosser right there. And then my job would, of course, be to take the drag underneath of it. But this cover three buzz is really, really good at defending a lot of what a five wide would want to do. And you see right there, there's that hook curl matching him across. And then obviously my user just has to take the check down. So this just does a really good job of defending a lot of what somebody would want to do from a five wide. The biggest thing that you are doing as a user is you need to just kind of pay attention to like, okay, what is that number three receiver doing? Because as you see here, the corner route to the number three receiver is pretty much your user responsibility within this defense. And honestly, like it might even be advantageous to just man up your user on that number three receiver because he's the guy they're going to build most around. Now, I saved this tip for the end because I think this is one of the best tips against any kind of five wide set. If you put the safety that is over the top of that number three receiver, so in this case, this guy right here, if we put him in an inside quarter, he is going to match number three on any vertical route, whether it's a crosser or an underneath corner. As you see there, that corner route gets completely blanketed buy that match coverage assignment, and you are going to cage any kind of five wide with this just one little adjustment. Just put this guy in a quarter. You don't really have to worry about the left side because you have seam flats. And then your outside thirds are also going to do a really good job of matching any kind of post. So let's say you get a post route on this left side, watch that outside third, just actually run the route for him, and the defenders are going to do a really, really good job against one of the more popular offenses in the game. So there you have it. Those are some of my favorite coverage shells in Madden, and I hope that these coverage shells served useful to you. If you want to take your Madden game to the next level, join our school community today for just $10. You're going to get access to all of my offensive and defensive ebooks for both college football and for Madden.